there is finally hope with the Patriots. All right, welcome in. It's the Breer Report for September the 30th, the very last day of September, and week 4 is now in the books. We are recapping all the action right here. We're going to start with Monday Night Football. We had 2 games on Monday night, not technically a doubleheader because the games did overlap. And it really looks like one real team to emerge from those 4, and it shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone that team is the Denver Broncos. Their defense, and yes, this is not the full version of Cincinnati Bengals that they were going up against, looks like the defense we expected to see at the beginning of the year. They did go through some bumps over the course of the first 3 weeks of the season. That Indianapolis game wasn't pretty, but now you're starting to see that talent come to life, the ability they have at the corner position to do what they want, to mix and match guys, which allows them to be more creative up front. That Denver defense should continue to get better and better with guys like Patrick Surtain and Riley Moss and Nick Bonito and Jonathan Cooper. It's a really, really, really talented group with one of the best coordinators in football, Vance Joseph. And I think you see where that defense can take them. And then the offense started to play a lot more efficiently too. In particular, what they did at the end of the first half and being able to get the ball down the field as quickly as they could, capping that with a touchdown from Cortland Sutton. This is starting to feel like a more complete football team. And again, I think what Sean Payton expected them to be at the beginning of the year. As for the team they beat, look, like I'm the guy who sat here 2 weeks ago and told you I thought the Bengals could survive the injury to Joe Burrow. And it's not just losing the last 2 games. To me, it's the way they lost it. They lost them. There is a great deal of frustration on offense. We saw some of that boil over with Jamar Chase on the sideline. And really, to me, when I look at where they were coming out of the Joe Burrow injury, it was, can you get to December 14th above 500? Is there a way to do that where you could get to December 14th with a game against the Baltimore Ravens that day? That's 3 months to the day of Joe Burrow's injury, which, again, from a rehab perspective, is still pushing it a little bit. That'd be a fast recovery. But can you get there above 500? And I thought, based on how we saw Jake Browning play a couple of years ago, based on what they put around Jake Browning, that the Bengals would really have an opportunity to do that. And right now, I'm just not seeing it. Maybe the defense continues to develop with the new coordinator, Al Golden. They haven't been horrible on that side of the ball. And maybe over time, Chase Brown becomes more of a factor. And they have to, and if they can play with better defense, with better run game, then maybe they can take a little bit more off the quarterback's shoulders. But as of right now, you look at where they're at, the division they're in, and it's tough to see them getting to that mid-December mark over 500. And if they aren't over 500 in the middle of December, tough to get in the AFC bracket. Then do you even push Joe Burrow back out in the field? That's a question I didn't think we'd be asking that this quickly, but here we are. As for the other Monday night game, the Dolphins wind up winning the game. They lose Tyreek Hill for the season, a very serious injury. And now they're 1-3. They did show fight against Buffalo. This game against the Jets did not start out great. The way the Jets were able to run the ball early in the game, it didn't look like this was going to go their way. Then they forced the turnover. They're able to fight back, take a 10-0 lead, and they were on their way from there. So I think you see a team that's still fighting for Mike McDaniel. This is not a team that's quit on the season. We saw that on the Thursday night against Buffalo. We see this on Monday night against the Jets. But there's the injury to Tyreek Hill they're dealing with now. Tyreek Hill out for the season, maybe longer than that. This is a very serious injury, a dislocated knee. He's got ligament damage as well. And I think it's hard to look at the Dolphins now and figure out what they hang their hat on. I think at the very least, what you could say is the speed that they bring to the table on the offensive side of the ball can create a problem for everybody. Well, now they still do have weapons, Jalen Waddle and Devin Achane, but they don't have the across the board threat that they did before when Tyreek Hill was part of that equation. And Tyreek Hill was really the primary thing to threaten defenses with. So while the Dolphins get their first win, while they are now 1-3, I don't know that this changes much as far as the outlook on their season, other than maybe perception of where they are with Mike McDaniel, which, again, with a lot of questions being asked, and over the last 2 games, they've really fought their ass off for McDaniel. The Jets, I don't know how much more we can talk about where they're at. I see a tough physical team that just isn't there in a lot of other areas. And, they had a tough loss last week to Tampa. This is another one where it just maybe feels like they don't have quite enough firepower at the end of these games. And, to be fair, it is year one for their new head coach, Aaron Glenn, and their new general manager, Darren Muji. All right. Our second takeaway coming out of week 4, I really like what Jackson Dart is bringing to the table for the Giants. And I really like the way that the Giants are handling Jackson Dart. And I do think that there is a different sort of edge, a different sort of energy. And if you want to take the sort of superficial illustration of what that was, maybe it is Jackson Dart getting right in Brian Daboll's face after the win, and you see them kind of like pushing each other and everything else, and excitement, and you see that energy that Jackson Dart's bringing in the group. But I really like the way that they have gotten him in a place where he can start to play fast now. And I think you see Brian Daboll right now doing a good job of alternating between doing things that are easy for Dart, doing things that'll get Dart playing fast, and then showing real confidence in him. And I'm going to pull out a couple of things from this game that I think really show that. And the first couple of things are the touchdowns and how the Giants were able to put the ball in the end zone in that game against the Chargers. The first one on a quarterback draw, it's a very simple thing for Jackson Dart. They did run him at Ole Miss. He is a physical player. He is a tough player. It's right up his alley. So they're able to score on a quarterback draw there, 15-yard run, physical run by Jackson Dart. And then the second touchdown comes on a shovel pass, and it's a movement play. It's one of those plays where they get him out of the pocket and moving to his right. He shovels it to Theo Johnson, his tight end, for a touchdown. That's a play that is simple, gets Jackson Dart on the move, gets everybody some confidence in Jackson Dart. So another well-run, well-executed play that, again, is very simple for the quarterback, but gets him playing fast, gets him some confidence. And then I think there were other spots where Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka and that coaching staff showed confidence in Dart. And the two biggest ones to me were right there in the fourth quarter, where there was a play with about 5 minutes left. They're down near the goal line on fourth down. They wind up going for it, and they put the ball in Jackson Dart's hands, and Jackson Dart rolls out, tries to make something happen, throws the ball right in there to Wan'Dale Robinson. Wan'Dale Robinson drops the ball. They don't wind up scoring, but their willingness to go for it in that situation rather than kick a field goal and extend their lead, I think does show the rest of the team, hey, we have no problem putting the ball in this kid's hands. And then at the very end of the game, the clincher. After that doesn't work, they come back again, and they're in 3rd and 5. And again, this is one of those situations where the Chargers are out of timeouts, and a lot of coaches would say, like, let's just run the ball. No need to overextend the rookie here. We'll take it down to the 2-minute warning. We'll punt it away. We'll let our defense win the game. And this was against the Chargers offense, again, that had major offensive line injury issues, 3 starting offensive linemen down. And the Giants could have said, yes, like, this is a spot where we trust our defense to go and finish the game for us. And instead, they said, nope, we're putting the ball in Jackson Dart's hands, and Jackson Dart's going to finish the game for us. And on that 3rd and 5, he's able to find Theo Johnson for the first down, and they're in victory formation and winning the game. And again, these are little things, but just as far as your progression, how you're building a quarterback up and how you're getting a quarterback going and how you're getting him confident and how you're getting the people around him confident in him, I think we saw a lot of little things that Brian Daboll did that really, I think, are things that you can build on if you're in that New York Giants locker room, if you're on that New York Giants coaching staff. And so I'd be excited about where they are. I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs. I'm not saying they're going to win the NFC East, any of that. But you can at least see some of the things that Jackson Dart's going to bring to the table for them. And again, some of these things are important things because remember, when they benched Russell Wilson, the 2 biggest problems, 31st in the league in red zone, 31st in the league on 3rd down. And these are things that Jackson Dart is making happen in the red zone and on critical downs. All right, finally, our third takeaway from this week. look out for the New England Patriots. Like, they looked feisty, and I know it's Carolina, and Carolina's been one of the worst teams in the league, maybe the worst team in the league over the last 5 years. But this is a New England team that was 4-13 in 2023, 4-13 in 2024, has looked at times like a dead franchise over the last couple of years. And having an afternoon like this for them, where they're able to win 42-13 over a bad team, where they're able to not only get another team down, but keep that team down, I think is a big step from Mike Vrabel and his program. And I do think that before we get into the quarterback, there is a global piece of this that's about play style. And I think you saw the play style from the Patriots going back to the preseason, and just how violently they're playing, how hard they're playing. So that's been there for a while. I think you're now seeing that like in different phases of the game. I think you've seen it in how they run the ball on offense. I think you've seen it in how of late they've started to get off after the passer on defense, and on special teams it really showed up. And to me, like, this was a big thing. And this is one thing I picked up from Mike Vrabel's post-game speech. He said that they have talked about about running harder than the guy who has the ball. And that was what you saw on the punt return from Marcus Jones that turned this game, where if you go back and you watch the play and you see when Marcus Jones gets into the open field, what does he have in front of him? There are 5 Patriot blockers. He has a convoy running with him to the end zone. And that thing was blocked up so well and so well conceived and so well run and executed that he had all these extra guys running with him. I mean, the Panthers could have 14 guys in the field and it wouldn't have mattered. So that was an important thing, I think, just as far as illustrating the sort of play style that Mike Vrabel is bringing to the Patriots. And then as for the quarterback, I would say the quarterback is playing at a higher level through a month than any of the quarterbacks in this draft class. And I'm saying that with the caveat now that Jaden Daniels has been injured. And Jaden Daniels is still clearly the number 1 quarterback in the class. I expect him to be the best quarterback in the class at the end of the year. I think he's going to be the best quarterback in that class long term. Bo Nix came alive on Monday night. But I think the level of play we've seen from over the last few weeks from Drake Maye has really given you a hint of what he can become, and why when the Patriots took him 3rd overall, it was a real swing for the fences. And I think you're starting to see him develop in a very real way under Josh McDaniels. And there are a few things that I think we can pick out of that game where you can say, yes, here he is. Here's what he's going to be. Okay. I think it's a balance between aggression and patience. You saw aggression on the final play of the 3rd quarter, where he is decisive and he is getting the ball on a rope, on a back shoulder throw to Stephon Diggs. And then earlier in the quarter, on a key 3rd down, you saw patience. You saw him sit in the pocket, read it out, and wait for Stephon Diggs to come across on an over route. And he puts that ball right over the defender's head and into Stephon Diggs' hands for a first down on a 3rd and long. And so I think you're seeing this balance from Drake Maye between being patient and being aggressive. And that, to me, shows real growth in Josh McDaniels' offense. And these are things that are happening within structure. And that's the big thing for me with Drake Maye is what does he look like in structure? I think they have to continue to give him the green light to make things happen with his legs, to run when it's there, to scramble out of the pocket, to make things happen on broken plays. All that stuff's a big part of his game. And he has that ability that your Patrick Mahomes, your Josh Allen, your Justin Herbert, like the great athletes who play that position. He's got that ability to make those sorts of plays. Now, what can he do within structure? How can he grow within structure so he's not overly reliant on that? I think you started to see that again against the Carolina team that's undermanned. Here's the other thing. He doesn't have a great team around him yet. He doesn't have a great group of skill players around him. And I think if you look, right, and you really drill down on it, you'll see how over the first 4 weeks of the season, there's been a different focal point to the Patriots offense. In week 1, it was Kayshon Boutte. In week 2, it was Ramondre Stevenson. In week 3, it was Hunter Henry. And this past week, it was Stephon Diggs, who at this point of his career is more strictly a slot receiver, a little bit more of a complementary piece. And I say that with all the respect, because he's coming back off an ACL. He's 31 years old. And he's had to reinvent himself as a player because he can't run away from people. He can't win outside the way he used to be able to. But this is a quarterback who is now finding a different guy to highlight every week. So as they continue to put pieces around him, assuming over the next couple of years they'll be able to grow and be aggressive in building around him with Drake Maye on a rookie contract, I really think he's got a chance to evolve into a top quarter of the league type of quarterback, like one of the 7 or 8 best quarterbacks in all of football. He's not there yet, but you can certainly see the ability and the makeup for him to get there, and the evolution you see in Josh McDaniels' offense, I think, should give everybody a lot of reason for optimism that eventually they'll be able to challenge Buffalo in the AFC. So I don't think it's going to happen this year. Even if they were able to pop some weird upset on Sunday, I don't think it's happening this year. They're still miles behind Buffalo in a lot of different ways. But with the play style Mike Vrabel is putting in place there, and now what you're seeing from the young quarterback, there is finally hope with the Patriots. Again, appreciate you guys coming out. We will be back with a mailbag here in midweek and another Breer Report at the end of the week. As always, you can give me your feedback. You can leave comments right below on YouTube, or you can hit me up on social media at Albert Breer on Twitter, at Albert R. Breer on Facebook, at Albert_Breer on Instagram. Get those questions in. We'll see you guys for the mailbag.